Yo, what's up guys? So today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was reborn and reincarnated, and became from human to devil, Naruto X Rias, Part 1. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, NarutoNega. Link is in the description, and also subscribe to my channel, and like this video. Let's begin the video. Ring 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 beep. Saturday huh? Seems like I woke up a bit later than normal. Oh well, I got off from my job today thanks to old man Yurichi. I really should see someone if I keep talking to myself out loud. Better not do that, probably thrown into an insane asylum for it, muttered a blonde, spiky-haired teen with a chuckle following his conclusion. Lifting a single hand up to his face, the teen quickly began to rub his eyes with the palm of his hand, easily getting rid of the slight sleepiness he had beforehand. Pushing himself up to a sitting position, the blonde-haired teen could only blink as the sound of birds chirping hit his ears. Rubbing his face a bit more, mindful of the weird and sensitive whisker-like marks he had since his birth, the teen threw his futon's blanket off himself, showing him beneath the blankets a simple orange singlet with long black sweatpants and a pair of white socks. Stretching to get the kinks out of his back and shoulders, the teen then began to stand, using his hand to help push him off his futon. Standing at a good height of 5 feet 11 inches, the teen then began to walk across his small apartment towards the bathroom. Opening the door to the room, the teen quickly sent his eyes towards the small mirror and grinned, showing his cerulean blue eyes sparkling with a slight joy due to the present day, that day being Saturday. Walking towards the mirror, the teen quickly grabbed his toothpaste and brush, and enthusiastically began to brush his teeth, a joyful tune being played within his mind, as he swished the liquid within his mouth before spitting it out into the sink. Placing his toothbrush down next to his already placed toothpaste, the teen simply gave a grin towards his reflection before turning around and walking out of his small bathroom and into his apartment living room/kitchen. Walking behind the kitchen table and opening a cupboard, the teen kept a happy grin on his face as the teen grabbed a bowl of instant ramen. However, just as the teen was about to open the bowl, "Uzumaki!" shouted a man with a gruff tone, slamming a ruler beside the head of a sleeping Naruto Uzumaki, something which made him jump slightly, as he saw the ruler only centimeters away from his face. Lifting his head slightly, the blonde-haired teen simply moved his eyes around the classroom he found himself in with a squinted glare, the reason being that his eyes haven't adjusted to the sudden light within the room. Noticing that everyone in the class seemed to be silently talking about something, the blonde-haired teen simply returned his eyes onto his teacher, who had his eyes also firmly planted onto him. "Yes?" asked the teen with a blank stare, stupid teacher having to wake him up from his happy place. The man crossed his arms as he stared towards the spiky-haired teen, the occasional twitch coming from his right eye at the board, and blank reply. "Please explain to me why you are asleep in class when you are supposed to be paying attention," shouted the man, as he leaned against the table of the teen, who simply leaned his head back from the wind generated from the shout. Raising a hand to his face, and pretending to wipe some spit off his face, the teen simply gave a loud sigh. "Maybe it was because you bored me to sleep with your today class speech," replied the teen once more, only closing his eyes in a slight bit of sadness, as he heard multiple students call him dead last and delinquent behind his back. Seriously, he fell asleep because the teacher just kept blabbing on, and yet he was being called a dead last and delinquent for it? What the hell did he do? Snapping back into reality, the teen with spiky blonde hair looked at the teacher, who seemed to be waiting for something. "What?" asked the teen, something which seemed to finally annoy the teacher into submission. Pointing the ruler towards the classroom door, the teacher spoke in a gruff and irritated tone. "Naruto Uzumaki, get out. If you aren't here to learn, then simply get out. I would expect some effort from one who is sitting on a little 50% for each and every subject he has. Keep going the way you are, and you will be disappointed later on in your life when you realize that the world is a lot harder than you think," said the teacher, his gruff voice softening slightly, as he really didn't mind the teen, but the way he was going he would only be able to pass without any sort of chance at a good career later down the road. Naruto could only stare at the front door of the classroom for a few seconds before picking his bag up off the floor. Slinging it around his back, Naruto walked out with his head slightly low, his bangs covering his saddened eyes, as he heard more comments from his peers. Why did they always pick on him? Was it because of his slightly different accent which he randomly picked up? Was it his apparently intimidating appearance? How does being 6 feet 2 inches and blonde make him intimidating? Giving a large sigh, Naruto began to walk towards the stairs, being the last period he might as well go home, as he didn't do any extracurricular activities with any clubs. However, just as he walked down the stairs, the blonde-haired teen paused for a moment. Wasn't the indoor pool in the large gymnasium free now? Giving a grin, Naruto walked towards the back entrance of the school. Walking through the back entrance, Naruto whistled a merry tune, as he walked towards Koa's Olympic-sized gymnasium. The gymnasium was a very large addition to the school, as it holds most of the indoor sports clubs within a single area, example being the ice hockey team and the volleyball team. It always amazed Naruto how a privately funded school afforded the actual school's creation, as he knew that the main building was well over millions, along with the land for, as well. But he wasn't going to look into it that much anyway. He was lucky that the government gave him an orphan's salary, an entrance to the school. Reason being since he had a good score on the entrance exam that the school gave when it was announced it was being turned into a co-ed school. How he did well on the test he didn't know, but if what he got from the teachers daily told him anything, he was apparently nowhere near what they expected him to be getting when they compared his current scores to his entrance exam scores. Shaking his head from the thoughts, the teenage blonde finally arrived towards the gym's indoor pool. Although he knew there was another pool the school had, no one had taken the effort to clean it in years, and because of that, no one was willing to go near it. Moving towards the changing rooms, Naruto quickly threw off his school shirt and shorts before putting on a pair of bodies before returning back to the pool. Crouching down slightly, the blonde-haired teen placed his hand on the surface of the water and grinned. Not too cold, not too warm. Just perfect like the school always sets out to do. Walking back a few feet, the blonde-haired teen grinned as he sprinted forward and jumped into the air. Woohoo! Shouted Naruto, as he cannonballed into the large pool, enjoying how the water enclosed his body, as he sunk towards the bottom. Holding his breath, Naruto enjoyed the feeling of the water going past and through his hair. It always felt nice, as the water made him feel weightless in its depths. Like how the wind made him feel all tingly and fast when he usually goes for a short jog on a Saturday morning. Realizing that he now had to come up for air, the blonde quickly pushed against the floor and started to swim up to the surface. His head breaking the surface, Naruto took a large gulp of air as he shook his hair, sending the water from both his face and hair away. Giving a small smile, Naruto pushed his belly up so that he could float on his back, looking towards the roof of the gym with nothing but a peaceful smile upon his face as he closed his eyes. Ring! Seems like the final bell went already, thought Naruto, as he kept his eyes closed, still enjoying the feeling of the water holding him up. However, due to the fact that Naruto was closing his eyes and not paying attention, he had not noticed a woman walk out of the girls' changing room and jumped into the air, intent to dive into the pool, and because of Naruto floating near the edge of the pool, which was slightly above the water's height, giving the blonde teen some cover, the woman could only widen her eyes in shock, and she dived straight onto the blonde, who snapped his eyes open when he felt both him and the thing that hit him start to sink. Snapping his eyes open underwater, while ignoring the stinging pain, Naruto sent his eyes all around to find what had hit him a moment ago. And when he did, he was shocked to find out it was none other than one of the senior girls of the school and club president, that being Kyom, third-year student and president of the tennis club. Getting his mind back on track, Naruto watched as the tennis club president continued to sink further into the depths, something that confused Naruto until he noticed that there wasn't a single movement from the woman sinking, along with water entering her partly opened mouth, which had only meant one thing. She wasn't awake. Quickly getting his wits, Naruto began to quickly swim towards the knocked-out female, as quickly as he could. He couldn't screw up here. He couldn't let a peer drown while he was there. Swimming behind the woman, and moving a single arm to grab her waist, Naruto quickly brought the woman to his chest, and swam upwards, his own air supply slowly disappearing. Lucky for him, however, he was able to reach the surface. Holding the knocked-out third-year woman, Naruto hefted her onto the plastic surrounding that the pool had. Quickly lifting himself up onto the edge, Naruto moved the woman away from the pool before moving his head next to her heart. Hearing a beat, Naruto then moved his head just in front of the woman's mouth. Not feeling her breath, Naruto quickly, but gently opened the woman's mouth. Looking into her mouth, and seeing nothing, Naruto quickly pinched her nose and placed his mouth onto hers. Breathing as hard as he could, Naruto watched as the woman's chest rose and fell. Remember to burn the image of her chest later, Naruto. Focus, thought Naruto to himself, as he reached his free hand over to Kyom's wrist, and trying to find a beat. Naruto gave a slight sigh of thanks, as he felt a weak pulse run through the woman's wrist. Taking in a big gulp of air and once more, Naruto quickly breathed into the woman, making sure to keep his eyes on her chest, and hand on her wrist, making sure that he was doing the procedure correctly at all times. Lifting his head up once more to draw in another breath, he once again placed his lips upon Kyom's once more before breathing in. However, unlike the previous attempts, Naruto pulled his head back from Kyom's near instantly, as he saw her snap her eyes open, and sit up before vomiting all the water from her lungs. Rubbing her back, as she puked all over her legs, Naruto couldn't help but feel a bit sick, as the woman puked for a good few seconds, meaning that she had swallowed a lot of the pool water while unconscious. Watching Kyom spit out the last of the water made Naruto release a silent sigh. He had been nervous and scared as hell when he was doing the procedure, something which he and his class learned a few weeks prior to his current predicament. Watching, as the woman took a few breaths in, Naruto continued to rub on her back, making sure to let the woman breathe before she did anything. Within a few moments the room became silent with Naruto still rubbing Kyom's back in support, and Kyom simply staring forwards. "Are you okay?" asked Naruto in a quiet tone, making sure that he didn't startle the woman by any chance. Kyom seemed to snap out of her staring before turning her head towards him with a slight nod. Yes, I am. Thank you Naruto-san for saving me," said Kyom with a quiet tone, as she raised a single hand towards her own heart, making sure that it was still beating from the shock she just went through. Naruto seemed to smile slightly, as he slowly helped the student stand up, using his own body as a support for the currently quiet woman. "Do you need your bag now, or do you want me to get it after I take you to the nurse's office?" asked Naruto, keeping his tone silent as he held the woman up by her waist and arm. Kyom was silent for a few moments before muttering to a quick "nurse please." Seeing as how he shouldn't waste time, Naruto slowly walked the shaky woman towards the gym's exit before continuing towards Koa's main building once more. Entering through the back, Naruto made sure to have a good grip on the still slightly shaking woman, as he and Kyom trembled down the hall, making a few students who were getting ready for their clubs point towards Naruto, as he carried the near-naked woman towards the office. "OMG, did you see that? The delinquent Naruto just hurt Kyom Abe, and is walking with her body in his arms. We must save her," said one of the Kendo club members towards her fellow friends, all who nodded their heads as they began to draw out their shunai weapons and chase after the blonde-haired man. Feeling a sudden surge of foreboding, Naruto moved his left hand to open the nurse's door. Seeing how it was unlocked, Naruto quickly brought Kyom with him inside before calling out, "Tarami-sensei, Kyom-san almost drowned in the pool. I managed to perform CPR, but I wanted you to check her yourself," shouted Naruto within the large medical bay room, drawing the attention of their school's private nurse, who stuck her golden-colored head out from one of the medical curtains that surrounded each and every bed. Reason they were there was now boys in the school, and when it's a literal 85 to 15% female to male ratio, it was mostly women who visited the nurse. Seeing the girl within the arms of the blonde-haired teen, the nurse quickly took over. Pushing up her thin glasses slightly, the woman waved them over to her spot. "Bring her over here Uzumaki-kun. I just made a fresh bed," said Tarami, as she watched the male nod his head, and gently moved the still shaking Kyom towards the bed. Walking through the curtain that was held open by the nurse, Naruto helped Kyom onto the bed in a sitting position. Seeing that she was now stable on the bed, Naruto then moved a hand towards Kyom's shoulders. "Okay Kyom, Tarami-sensei should be able to look after you for now. I'm going to go get yours and my bags now, so I need to know where yours are," asked Naruto with his still slightly quiet tone, moving out of the way so that the nurse could do some checkups quickly while they talked. However, while Kyom was pretty much out of it, she still managed to blush. "It's in the girls' locker room where it's supposed to be fine. My locker number is 32, and the code to my locker is 20-42-59 and 0. I would give you the key, but it's in my bag in the locker, so I'm trusting you Naruto-san to get my bag," spoke Kyom in her soft voice, as Tarami moved a small flashlight side to side in front of the girl's face. Nodding, Naruto began to walk out, only to feel someone holding his wrist. That someone being Tarami-sensei. "Yes, sensei?" asked Naruto with a slight tilt of the head, although the woman couldn't see that, as she hadn't stopped her checkup on Kyom. "Make sure to not look through her bag Uzumaki-kun. We don't want you to be naughty, right?" asked Tarami with a scary tone near the end of her rhetorical question, something which made Naruto feel shivers up his spine. "Yes, sensei," replied Naruto, as the nurse let go of his wrist. Feeling the clamped hand off his sore wrist, Naruto quickly moved to exit the nurse's room, only to feel the foreboding feeling once more. "Okay, so it's either something bad is going to happen when I walk outside or the nurse is going to kill me for something," thought Naruto, as the foreboding feeling began to rise within the pit of his stomach. Moving a shaky hand towards the door's handle, Naruto swallowed a lump in his throat before opening the door and sticking his head out in both directions. Giving a thankful sign, Naruto took a few steps out before he heard the nurse's door slam shut. "So Naruto-san hurts a woman. Did you speak?" a voice behind him, causing a bead of sweat to make its appearance onto his forehead. Not moving his head, Naruto began to walk forwards, pretending like he hadn't heard anyone speak. "You know, I don't see how a dead last like you will make it later on. You're literally the only student who has a straight 50% record. Even the perverted trio got better marks than you. What's worse is that you also attacked another student. That's worse than the 3 perverts could ever do," shouted another student behind him. Hearing that, Naruto narrowed his eyes in slight sadness as he continued his walk towards the back entrance, intent on getting his and Kyom's stuff. That was before he felt a wooden stick smack him over the head, causing him to fall onto the floor in pain. Shifting his head slightly towards who hit him, Naruto felt fear, as a large chunk of the Kendo club stood over him. Each member there currently holding a weapon with their two leaders, Murayama and Keitase, pointing their shunai towards him. Attack! Screeched the pink-haired girl Murayama along with Keitase, who soon began to lay waste to him with their shunai. However, unknown to any of the members, Naruto couldn't hear them after Murayama screamed. Hell, he couldn't hear or see anything other than a blonde-haired kid wearing an orange jumpsuit being beaten the fuck out of by a large group of girls with a pink-haired one leading the beating. Ouch. Kinda feel sorry for that guy. While those women like to stomp, I wonder what they are stomping. Oh, may God have mercy on that unlucky bastard. Though Naruto, as he watched, unknown to him, his younger past self gotten his ass kicked for no apparent reason. It is indeed funny to watch. At times of great boredom, Naruto Uzumaki. However, I am glad to finally be able to reach you after all this time, spoke a wise-sounding voice which pierced through the darkness that surrounded Naruto once the little video disappeared. Moving his head around to find where the voice came from, Naruto shouted out, "Where the hell am I? What's going on?" asked Naruto in fear. I mean, who wouldn't? He was just floating in pure darkness that spanned on for miles in all directions. The voice seemed to chuckle for a moment before becoming quiet once more. Naruto Uzumaki, I do not have much time to speak, as I feel the energy that is connecting us is finally breaking. When you return home, there will be a scroll on your counter. That scroll will only work for you. The reason for that, I cannot say. However, know this. In that scroll, there is something that will change your future depending whether or not you open the scroll or not. But I know this. You will feel slightly different once you open the scroll. I have trust that you will open the scroll. Naruto, now that's out of the way, I must say goodbye to Naruto Uzumaki. And with that the mysterious voice disappeared. Naruto blinked out into the darkness with a blank look. Did someone put something in my drink during the day? Muttered Naruto to himself, before he suddenly felt like he was falling. Shutting his eyes in disbelief, Naruto hastily opened his eyes a few moments later, only to see a white ceiling. Blinking for a few seconds slowly, Naruto moved himself into a sitting position, grimacing, as he felt a bit of pain surge through his ribs. Pushing himself off the ground, Naruto moved a hand to his rib for a few moments, before looking around. Wasn't the Kendo club here a few seconds ago? Muttered Naruto before he shook his head, and jogged towards the indoor pool. Once entering the building, Naruto walked towards his bag, which he was happy to find left alone near the edge of the pool, before he flung it onto himself before walking towards the female changing room. However, just as he was going to walk in, he stopped himself. He could hear other girls within the room, meaning that if he was to walk in there, shiver. Standing at the entrance of the girls' locker room, Naruto knocked onto the door hastily. Waiting a few moments, Naruto was happily surprised to find that someone opened it, that someone being a second-year girl named Sari. Giving a small wave to the short-haired blonde girl, Naruto gave an embarrassed laugh. Sari-san, Tarami-sensei just asked me if any of the girls could get Kyom-senpai's bag out of her locker for her since she is currently in the nurse's office, so if you could it would be great, spoke Naruto in an embarrassed tone, something which made the smaller girl blankly stare at him. Sorry Naruto-san, but I do not know what locker and combination code Kyom-senpai uses, so I cannot get her bags, replied Sari with a slightly sorry tone. Giving a sigh, Naruto leaned onto the entrance wall. Kyom-senpai told me her locker was number 32, and her combination password was 20-42-59 and 0. So can you please get her bags for me? I really want to go home now, but I don't want to leave before giving Kyom-senpai her stuff back, spoke Naruto in a calm, bland tone towards Sari, who simply narrowed her eyes at him. However, she soon gave a sigh. Fine, one moment Naruto-san, replied Sari, as she closed the door. Within a few minutes Sari once again walked out with a bag in hand. Here Naruto-san, but so help me if I find out you stole the bag, I'll tell Sana-sama, said Sari with a huff and glare, her arms under her quite decently large bust to help increase the intimidating image she had going for her. Giving a nod, Naruto turned around, a small trail of blood beginning to fall from his nose, as Sari hadn't noticed the towel she was wearing was slightly slipping down her bust. Giving a cheeky grin, Naruto quickly dashed out of the gym, and back towards the nurse's room, where he found the nurse waiting with Kyom. Seeing Naruto walk through the door, Kyom gave a small smile, as Naruto handed her bag back to her. Thank you, spoke the brunette, as she held her bag towards her chest. No problem, replied Naruto, as he waved it off, before he turned around, and gave an over-the-shoulder wave. Well, hope you feel better Kyom-san. Thanks for the help Tarami-sensei, replied Naruto, as he left through the door. Turning his head slightly, Naruto felt a twitch of pain coming from his neck slightly, before shrugging it off. With that, he began to walk home to his apartment. I'm home, muttered Naruto, as he closed the door behind him slowly, as he didn't want to disturb his neighbors with the door being shut. Removing his shoes, and placing them beside the door, Naruto walked into his living room, and began his daily ritual, that being getting a bowl of instant ramen, and turning on the small TV of his to watch some anime that was on. Slurping up his ramen at a slow rate, and enjoying the taste, Naruto couldn't help but feel a nagging feeling within his head. It was like he was supposed to remember something. Shaking his head, Naruto stood up, and walked behind the kitchen counter, and dropped his now empty bowl of instant ramen into the small bin that was under the sink pipes within a cupboard. Clapping his hands, and closing the cupboard, Naruto lifted his head up to watch the TV from his current position, watching, as a dude named Hey, a contractor, which was a dude or girl who had a power which they can use, but along with the power they have, they also have a price to pay for each use. The main character, however, didn't seem like he had a price in the story. Pushing his hands off the kitchen table, Naruto began to walk around the table, intent on getting to his small couch where he could continue watching Darker Than Black, the current show, more comfortably. However, just as he was going to walk past the kitchen table, he caught sight of something that made him widen his eyes, as he came across something that he didn't expect. A scroll. Naruto stared at the rolled-up piece of paper, his mind going back to earlier in the day, as he remembered the dark void he found himself in. Naruto Uzumaki, I do not have much time to speak, as I feel the energy that is connecting us is finally breaking. When you return home, there will be a scroll on your counter. That scroll will only work for you. The reason for that, I cannot say. However, know this. In that scroll, there is something that will change your future depending whether or not you open the scroll or not. But I know this. You will feel slightly different once you open the scroll. I have trust that you will open the scroll. Naruto, now that's out of the way, I must say goodbye. Naruto Uzumaki. No, that had to be a dream, right? No, not a dream. He didn't fall asleep between walking to and from the gym. Must be him daydreaming, right? It's just a stupid scroll, Naruto. Nothing's going to happen when I open it, spoke Naruto towards himself, as he felt his hand move towards the scroll, as if it had its own mind. Just as Naruto felt the texture of the scroll, he couldn't help but move his other hand to also hold one half of the scroll. Now clutching both edges of the scroll, Naruto slowly opened it up. Once it was open, he saw a flash before seeing a deep blue pond in front of him. Moving his feet, and standing above the pond, Naruto couldn't help but stare into his reflection for a few seconds, getting lost within the blue pond. Waiting a few more moments, Naruto watched as he moved a single hand towards the pond, and when he touched it, a warmth spread through his body before he was once again captured by the darkness that surrounded him. Why am I on the floor? Asked Naruto to himself, as he opened his eyes to the unwelcome sight of the wooden floor. Blinking the slight blurriness from his eyes, Naruto pushed himself off the ground, using the kitchen table to support him, as he stood up. Raising his right hand up to rub his face, Naruto couldn't help but let out a yawn before stretching his right arm, his left currently keeping him balanced with the table. Covering up his yawn with his now free left hand, Naruto shook his left hand to quickly get the pins and needles out, before looking towards the kitchen table. Safe to say he was shocked when he came upon the sight of a book titled Academy Level. Reading the title a second time, Naruto couldn't help but glare at the book, as he felt the room start to change into a blank darkness once more. Before long the book also vanished, and the only thing that came into view was a large building that was called the Shinobi Academy, something that seemed to ring a bell, so to speak, within Naruto's mind. However, before long the image disappeared, awarding Naruto the sight of his apartment once more, along with the fateful book on the counter. Narrowing his eyes at the book, Naruto couldn't help but just felt something pulling him towards it. Now it isn't the whole I feel something in my gut thing, but he could actually feel something flowing through each and every bone, muscle, vein, and organ. And even then he could feel the thing within him not being blood, but something else, something more, he guessed. Raising a hand to his head, Naruto couldn't help but sigh. Just had to touch the scroll yesterday, didn't you, Naruto? So what if I thought it was a dream when I touched the scroll? You don't just randomly touch things, damn it. There's that stupid pull feeling again, muttered Naruto angrily, as he removed his hand from his face before picking the book up and walking towards his small couch in his living room. Placing himself onto the old, but comfortable, couch, Naruto opened the first page, only to narrow his eyes at the message he saw written in the book. If you are reading this, Naruto, it means that you accepted the scroll, and what comes from it, and because of that, I am proud of you for doing so. Now, while you may not understand some of the things I'm going to say, I need you to pay attention. Naruto stared blankly at the first paragraph before giving out a sigh. Sure, whatever, creepy book. I'm guessing the guy who talked to me before wrote this, asked Naruto rhetorically, as he gave himself a grin, before shaking his spiky blonde hair around, and began to read the second paragraph. Now, while you do not know who you truly are, you will find out along your journey. Trust me, as a sage. Before Naruto could read further, he once again felt the room disappear into darkness with a single image being created. That image had what looked like him, with slight changes being whisker marks and slightly shorter hair, standing in a frontal position glaring towards his direction while wearing a red with black flames on top of a black and orange jacket, and orange cargo pants, although he didn't know what to call the shoes, but they were also black. Taking another look towards the man's face, Naruto couldn't help but narrow his eyes at the orange pigments surrounding the toad-like eyes, something that seemed to irritate Naruto, as if he remembered something about it. However, just as the image appeared, it disappeared, once more changing into Naruto's apartment with Naruto sitting down, and book in hand. What the hell are those images? Hell, why the hell are they popping up? Muttered Naruto towards himself, before giving a sigh, as he went back to reading. First off, when you begin, you will need to be focused. While I am instructing you through the material through quotes and messages, you cannot simply expect what's within this book to be easy. However, I have also made restrictions for your learning. That being, you must be proficient in all forms within each subject you shall learn. However, there will be more subjects added later on, as it's a requirement in previous subjects to be able to begin. I have also taken the more evil subjects out. There are no need for them, as I hope you can understand. Nod from Naruto. Why would he like to read something evil? Hell, the way the message made it sound like if he did try to learn it, he would be stuck forever in one area. Now, the restrictions I have placed upon each level, so to speak, are in ranks, those being Academy. Another flash of the previous Shinobi Academy building. Genin. Naruto could only stare into two headband-like objects, one being a long black-clothed one, and the other being a shorter blue-clothed one, both holding a metal plate that had a similar picture of a leaf, only with the center part of the leaf being a swirl right in the center of the cloth. Chunin. A puffy green jacket with a lot of extra pockets came to mind. Why? He hadn't had a slight clue, similar to the headbands. Jonin. Strangely enough, he didn't get another image. Shrugging, he continued on. Senin. A quick flash of the similar blonde with orange pigments and toad-like eyes appeared in his mind for an instant, along with a man who had long white spiky hair. He felt a massive pang of sadness hit him as he saw the image. He even had some tears building up in the corners of his eyes at the image of the man. And finally Kage. Naruto could only clutch his head with his right hand, as images of 5 people flew through his head, each wearing a similar red triangle-like hat on their heads, all holding the kanji for fire on the front. He also couldn't explain the tear that went down his face when he saw the third man to appear, an old man with most of his hair gone, with the remaining hair being gray. The tear he felt that was going down his cheek was an expression of sorrow. Then another tear fell on the opposing cheek when the fourth man appeared, someone who was nearly a mirror image of himself, just with slightly noticeable changes, that being the slightly different jaw and slightly slanted eyes. The tear that he felt was a mix of sadness and joy, something that confused him, as he didn't know how or why he felt the way he did. Finally the fifth person, a woman, appeared. He then felt another pair of tears join the previous two. However, the emotion he felt was both of longing and joy, with sadness hidden beneath the longing. Raising a forearm to wipe the tears off his face, still confused why he felt those emotions, Naruto continued on reading. Each rank holds more requirements. However, the idea to progress is the same throughout the book. Become the master of your rank. If you are an academy student, you must master all that is given to progress to genius. There are no shortcuts in skipping ranks. You will not be able to complete some of the tasks and skip. You must master all in each rank, either the master of all or the master of none. The further you go into each rank, the more you will understand Naruto. To begin, move the energy you now feel within yourself into the book. It will release all that is required for you to begin, that being the academy rank. Train hard, Naruto. Achieve a level you wish you had before. I believe in you along with your family and friends, even when we are no longer with you. Become greater, Naruto. Naruto then looked at the bottom of the page and looked at the signature. H.O. Achieve a level you wish you had before. Have I done this before or something? And what's with the I believe in you along with your family and friends, even when we are no longer with you? What the hell does that mean? Does it mean that the person who wrote the book knows who my parents are? And what about friends? I don't know or have any? Gah, this is giving me a headache, but I gotta admit I am interested now. Whoever you are, Mr. H.O, muttered Naruto, as he stared at the initials once more with a narrowed gaze. Releasing a sigh, Naruto placed the book down onto his small coffee table and closed his eyes. Move the energy that's inside of me. Okay, I guess the new feeling I have within me is what he means, or is it a she? Never mind, Uzumaki. Focus. Feel the energy and move it into your hand. Which hand should I move it into? The left or right? Gah, what if I put the energy into the wrong hand and it explodes or something? Snap out of it, Naruto. Just move some energy into a hand the left. Good old righty is a much needed hand. Okay, now place it on the book, muttered Naruto, as he opened his eyes to the sight of his left hand barely millimeters from the book's first page. Well, here goes nothing, I guess, spoke Naruto in a slightly calm tone, as he moved his hand and placed it firmly onto the book. His eyes slammed shut, expecting the worst. Poof. Did I just seriously hear a poof? Asked Naruto to himself, as he slowly opened his eyes, only to come upon the sight of what appeared like a small mountain of books, all neatly stacked on top of each other. Moving his left hand from the original book that now sat in front of the mountain of others, Naruto slowly lifted his left hand to grab one of the top books. Getting a good grip on the book, he lifted it off the stack before moving it towards himself. When he read the title, he only tilted his head. The book title read, Chakra Crash Course. Blinking it over for a few moments, Naruto shrugged, thinking that the energy he felt was apparently chakra. Flipping the first page of the book, Naruto couldn't help but drop his jaw at what the diagrams and information explained to him about his apparent energy. Chakra is the energy that all living beings possess. However, while all living things possess chakra, as it is essentially life energy, only humans and summons, creatures that are more intelligent who also have been saturated with life chakra or nature chakra, allow them to evolve to become either stronger or more advanced. Now, what is chakra? Chakra is the combination of both physical and spiritual energies which mix to create chakra. An image of a single white 2D man was shown with both physical and spiritual energies mixing within the center of the man. What can chakra do? Well, chakra can be used in many ways. However, it is mostly ninjas who use chakra to help them with their activities, an example being water walking and tree climbing along with jutsus. However, just because chakra is mainly used by ninjas doesn't mean that civilians cannot learn how to use chakra. Only it's more common for ninjas to, unless there is a reason they cannot, mostly through a disease one might have. Moving on to training your chakra. Through the use of training, one can learn to control and expand their chakra amount. Why would someone need to expand and control their chakra? Easy, to perform more chakra-related activities. Why do we need to train to expand our chakra? Because it runs out. Do not worry, as it does return, but with a larger amount of chakra at your disposal, along with a good to control to minimize waste. You could be doing chakra requirement techniques all day long, which can be used in either strengthening your body, flinging around ninjutsu/genjutsu, coating your weapons to make them stronger, or even to use the esteemed art of, or seals. Now, while this seems like only a few ways to use chakra, there are many more to come. Okay, so far it doesn't seem that bad, but what does it mean by expanding and controlling your chakra? How do you do it? And can anyone else use chakra apart from me? I kinda don't think so, even if the book makes it seem like everyone could, although I am curious as to what it means by strengthening your body, along with the whole ninjutsu and ninjutsu thing, thought Naruto, as he continued reading. Now you are probably thinking, what's ninjutsu, and how do I expand and control my chakra? Well, first off, ninjutsu is the most common form of attack of a ninja. Ninjutsu are techniques that are created from the use of chakra. An example of ninjutsu attacks are the Uchiha clan's Katan, Great Fireball, which is created from shape and nature manipulation to create an attack that is in the shape of a ball, which is then sent towards the enemy, or it can be used as a flamethrower to hold back or stop. Did he just read that right? He could shoot fireballs with chakra? He was so going to learn that, but maybe in private. I mean, who would not call the police if they saw someone shooting random fireballs into the air? Next we have the art of illusions. Through the use of chakra, a ninja is able to affect either someone else or their surroundings by changing what others see, smell, touch, taste or hear. How do they do this? Through sending chakra through either the person or intended area. It is also known that it's easier to use on a single person rather than an area, which is only recommended if 1. You have decently large chakra, and 2. Very good chakra control. It is also important for users to have a decent imagination, as for most who don't, will never be able to create their own. Moving on, the art of sealing. Fuinjutsu is different from both ninjutsu. Whereas ninjutsu are created through strictly their chakra, it is created through both chakra and kanji. Now, while it might seem a bit dull in the beginning, know this. It's truly the only ninja still that is limitless. Whereas with ninjutsu there is a point that you cannot pass, there isn't a point that you can stop with. An example that can be achieved through is instant teleportation, something created and used by both Tobirama Senju, the second, and Minato Namikaze, the fourth. Fuinjutsu also is something that can overcome each and every form of attack or disadvantage. For instance, originally, users needed to use kanji to create their ink on a paper. However, when one reaches the rank of a seal master, the master is one who can create seals through that of a touch, using only their chakra to create the seal. Now that doesn't say that people who aren't masters cannot do that, but a master is one who can do it for all their Reason being they can create all the theory of the kanji within a split second, which they then create within any body part, usually the hands or feet, which they then can place with a simple touch. An example would be someone who knows the kanji for the explosion seals could place the kanji needed for the technique with a place of his hand, which can then be activated at a moment's notice. However, be warned, it is one of the hardest subjects to grasp. An exception to this was the Uzumaki clan members, who seemed to have a natural skill for. He could teleport if he got that good in, all with beginning with a brush, some ink, and a piece of paper, and knowledge. Motherfucker, he was going to learn the shit out of it. What if he created a seal that allowed him to fly, or go invisible, or freeze time? Okay, the last one would be stupidly harder than the rest, but still. Now there are many more things chakra can be used and created for. An example would be for Iryo ninjutsu, which is used to heal others or oneself of damage. However, ninjutsu requires very precise chakra control to do, or even kekai ninjutsu, which is simply barrier techniques which can be used to trap, protect or even hold your enemies. He could heal himself, or even make someone trapped. He sure as hell was lucky he wasn't a killer. The guy would be a fucking god if he could even do a little bit of what he just read. Now, a good way to build up chakra within oneself is to move your physical and spiritual energy into a tight sphere with the image of yin and yang, one bringing physical and the other being spiritual, then moving the sphere in the direction of your hair or what naturally feels right. This won't increase your control or expand your reserves, but it does bring forth you chakra for those who are beginners or for those who want to raise their chakra up at a faster rate than the usual self-charge. Normally this is done before attempting to learn chakra control. Reason being so that people know what they require to complete the exercise. Looking at the image that had a man holding a hand sign with a picture of a blue and red ball, split into two separate ones circling around each other in a single direction, Naruto nodded, as he closed the book before placing it beside the mountain of other books. Moving his head up to stare at the ceiling, Naruto couldn't let a sigh go through his lips before a massive ass grin appeared on his face. "This is so fucking cool," shouted Naruto, as he quickly bounced around the room he was in. I mean, who wouldn't be this excited? You just learned that you could shoot fucking fireballs, and teleport, and then you could also heal things, and all. I mean, you could be the best doctor without even knowing how to do proper surgery, unless that's a requirement, but still. Finishing his little parade, the blonde teen sat down on his couch, and grabbed the next book with glee before his alarm in the bedroom went off. Blinking, Naruto stood up with the book he grabbed, and entered his bedroom, which was somewhat small, before pressing the off button on the small alarm. However, when he saw the time on it, he widened his eyes. 7:41 a.m. The only time his alarm went off early in the morning was if he had school. Oh damn it. He couldn't read until after school. No wait, he had work since it was Friday. Suddenly Naruto stopped his little bout of depression. What if I just take a few books with me to school? I always manage to get by without even paying attention or studying, so what would be different? Apart from reading, that is, chuckled Naruto to himself, as he walked towards his small closet, and grabbed his regular attire, that being the required academy black blazer and dress pants. He also grabbed his orange t-shirt that he usually had underneath his blazer. However, before Naruto began to place his uniform on, he realized he still had his yesterday's set on. Looking towards the time, which was now 7:43 a.m., he realized he had plenty of time to have a shower and get dressed. Grabbing his fresh pair of clothes and walking towards his small bathroom, Naruto couldn't help but release a sigh, as he quickly chucked his dirty cloths into the small tub in the corner of the room before entering his shower. Relishing the feeling of the hot water going through his hair and past his body, the warm water was always welcome in Naruto's books. Enjoying his shower a bit longer than he normally did, the blonde turned the taps off and walked out of the shower and began to dry himself with a towel. Making sure to get his body dry, the blonde went to put on his clothes only to smack his face in irritation, the reason being he forgot to grab a clean set of underwear. Growling to himself, the blonde wrapped a towel around his waist. Even if he lived alone, he wasn't walking out naked, more or less just for knowing that you don't walk around naked. However, as soon as he opened his door, the blonde felt a shiver go up his spine, as the colder air seeped into his skin. Quickly bolting to his closet, and grabbing a set of boxers, the blonde quickly threw on his school attire, intent on stopping the cold air from touching his skin. Getting his blazer on, the blonde gave a satisfied sigh of approval, as his body began to warm up, making the blonde forget about the distinct touch of cold air a few moments ago. Looking once more towards his clock, the blonde gave a small sigh of relief, as he noticed that his shower wasn't longer than 10 or so minutes, bringing the time up to 7:53 a.m. Exiting his bedroom, and entering his living room, the blonde quickly found his bag before moving it towards the couch before walking away to grab some breakfast, that being some simple toast and a batch of cooked eggs. Finishing the cooking part of his breakfast, the teen brought his plate of toast and eggs to his couch, making sure not to dirty the books by accidentally dropping an egg on them. Sitting on his couch, the blonde began to look through the books. Okay, I'm guessing I'm going to need to understand and apply each bit of knowledge from these books to be able to advance in rank. But I guess I should go with things that I can do in school. I doubt I could practice ninjutsu, especially without learning chakra control. Do the books have something on expanding my chakra? No, it probably doesn't. I guess you would expand your chakra through chakra control, and physical, and spiritual training, I guess, as it said chakra is a mix or spiritual and physical energy, so I might as well grab the book on chakra control. Probably the best to start off with. I really should only take 3 or 4 books, just to make sure I don't get over my head. Okay, so far I got chakra control 101. Just 2 or 3 more, thought Naruto, as he stared at the large amount of choices placed upon the table with a narrowed stare and gaze. I guess I'll grab the level 1 book as my second one. I mean, there is a level 2 as well, but both are incredibly large. It would most likely be that you need to get a good grasp on the lower level to advance to the upper level, so bringing the level 2 would be pointless. There is a book on body conditioning / training there. That could be useful for the physical part of my chakra, but what about spiritual? Maybe the book of meditation? No, it seems to be a smaller book, so it won't take long to read. Damn it, what else can I bring? Actually, I do have 5 periods, so why don't I bring 5 books? Never mind, I should read the level 1 book for 2 periods. It is the largest one I currently have out of my selected 3. Oh, Basics of Nature Transformation? Maybe that would be wise to pick. I mean, if you can shoot fireballs with ninjutsu, I'm guessing it's reliant on nature transformation. So I guess learning the basics would help, finished Naruto. Nodding his head at the choices, the blonde carefully placed the 4 books inside of his bag, a decently large blue with white streaks bag. Shoving his breakfast quickly into his mouth, and happy with his choices, the blonde picked up his bag and hefted it up onto his back. Just as he grabbed his wallet and apartment keys from his kitchen table, he suddenly stopped and shifted his eyes to the books taking over his coffee table. Should I really leave them out in the open? Muttered Naruto, as he simply stared at the books for a moment, unsure as to either leave the books out in the open or place them somewhere less noticeable. Turning back around, the blonde instantly began to transport his books to his room, placing them under his small desk that he usually had collected dust from without use. Now if he was good enough at it, he might actually use the thing. God knows that he didn't use it for homework. Happy with his book's new location, the blonde exited the apartment, making sure to take a quick look at the clock, showing 8:07 a.m., meaning he had about a good half hour to walk to school. Walking out of his apartment, and locking it, the blonde went down the hall, and pressed the elevator button, reason being he was only on the 3rd floor, but couldn't be bothered going down the stairs. Hearing the ping of the elevator door opening, the blonde walked inside the elevator, and pressed the ground floor button. Seeing as he was the only one inside the elevator, Naruto couldn't help but close his eyes for a moment, taking the time to process all that he learned a few moments ago. Hearing the ping once more, the teen opened his eyes, his cerulean blue eyes shining with excitement, as he walked out of the elevator, and out of the lobby, and into the street. Raising his arm above his head to block out a bit of the light, Naruto slowly adjusted to the bright light before lowering his hand, his smile still planted upon his face, as he walked around the apartment building, escaping the sound of loud cars going by, as the front of the apartment complex was on a busy road, while behind the apartment complex was a road that led directly towards Academy. Sure, it was like a good 20 to 25 minute walk, but, as long as he got there he was good. Walking down the long road with hands in his pockets, Naruto couldn't hide the excited smile that was stuck onto his face, as he walked towards. I mean, the things he read was that of TV shows, like Darker Than Black, and stuff. I mean, in the show people had abilities, and cool fighting, but they had to pay a price to use their abilities after each use. Him? He just had to get stronger, and he basically could do, eventually, things that scientists have tried to create for years. Just imagine if he could fly? Oh, so much money saved for holidays. Chuckling to himself over the last thought, Naruto couldn't help but stare up towards the blue sky, thinking back onto one of the first things that caught his attention at Chakra Crash Course, strengthening your body. Did that mean he could make his body super strong or fast? Wait, could he use the amount of chakra to try now? Giving an evil grin, Naruto slipped off one strap of his bag, seeing as it was stupidly uncomfortable to run with both straps on. He began to churn his chakra into one direction before moving it towards his legs. Feeling his energy saturating his legs, the blonde gave a grin before lifting a single leg and moving it forward, amazed at how light his leg felt at that moment. Placing his foot down, he began to move his next one, only to widen his eyes when he moved, as if he was doing a slow jog. Did his legs really have that much propelling strength from being saturated with chakra? The large grin on Naruto's face easily told anyone that he was going to do something, that something being getting into a running start. 3 called out Naruto, as he saturated his entire body with chakra, not noticing his reserves begin to slowly start to deplete. 2 cue the larger grin, when he started to pump through his body. Go! Shouted Naruto mentally, pushing from his runner's starting position, and beginning to run at full speed. It was amazing, the feeling of his chakra moving through his body, the feeling of the wind wiping his face, as he ran at the speed of a car. He felt amazing, he felt incredible, and he felt like something else. Noticing how people who saw him give open jaw drops, Naruto couldn't help but increase his grin. Sure, it wasn't all that smart running out in the open this fast, but still, it was just testing it. He wasn't going to do it again probably. However, while on his high, he didn't notice himself starting to lose his chakra, as it was running out, and before he knew it, he began running at his own original pace, that being a decently fast student. Coming to a stop, the blonde could be seen gasping and wheezing like he had just ran over 20 marathons back to back. Using his knees to support his arms, the blonde drew deep breaths in at a slow rate. His body began to sweat, as he began to cool down from his run. What the hell is that the only amount an academy student begins with? That was nothing, but then again I did just start muttered Naruto out loud, as he slowly began to stand and start walking at a normal rate, although he did notice that the school was only at most a few minutes away. Maybe 3 or 5. Did he just skip or cut out like 17 to 20 minutes of his normal walk in the span of seconds? Okay, how much chakra would he have at Kage rank? Enough to run for days on end? Shaking his head from the thoughts, no point in thinking of that since he would eventually reach it after all, the blonde continued to walk past the large gates of the academy. The large brown brick walls that surrounded the school were, as always, perfect, and not damaged the slightest, even after a few vandalism attacks. Wiping his brow with his forearm, Naruto quickly stretched his back, making sure to get a few kinks out from his run. You what? Screamed a woman not too far from his position, taking a curious look, as did many other students that were there. Naruto began to walk towards the scream, only to come upon the sight of Kyom pointing and yelling at the 2 leaders of the Kendo club, that being Murayama and Kate. Standing by with his arms crossed, Naruto couldn't help but listen in. He was a high school student after all. You attacked him because you thought that he hurt me? Why on earth would he take me to the nurse's office if he was the cause of injury? Wouldn't he run so he wasn't in trouble? But not only that, you and your club actually attacked him when he didn't deserve it? Sure, he looks like a delinquent to those who only look at what's on the surface, me being one of them, but he's really nice. How could you think attacking him was good? You and your club should apologize to him for the attack you all did. Understand? Asked Kyom with her arms crossed under her bust, and her eyes narrowed, which seemed to stand out more with her long brown drill-like hair framing her face, and her emerald-colored eyes. The 2 girls lowered their heads, and muttered a quick hi before walking towards their club, and talking to them, explaining what they were just told. Well, that was a bit boring, spoke Naruto out loud in a mumble, as he uncrossed his arms. He was shocked when he noticed that Kyom snapped her head towards him at such a fast rate after he spoke, something which he was sure no one else had heard if anything. Naruto? Spoke Kyom out loud quietly, something that drew the attention of others as they were beginning to leave. Tilting his head slightly, Naruto couldn't help but nod. Yeah? Spoke to Naruto in a slow tone, confused as to what she wanted. He did kind of expect to be ignored after yesterday. I mean, all he did was help the girl, and that was it. Before he realized it, he was caught in a bone-crushing hug. Naruto, I am so sorry for what the Kendo club did to you, even after you saved me from drowning. Spoke Kyom in a sad tone, something that made everyone in the surrounding area blink. The delinquent saved Kyom-senpai from drowning? Giving an awkward chuckle and pat on the back, Naruto couldn't help but ask what the Kendo club did to him. Ano, Kyom-san. Chan if you want, spoke Kyom, moving her head up slightly, as she gave the blonde a smile. You deserve the privilege of speaking to me in a familiar tone. You did save my life after all. Finished Kyom with her smile, as she placed her head back onto Naruto's shoulders, who simply blinked before gaining a smile. Thanks Kyom-chan, but what do you mean about the Kendo club attacking me? I don't remember what happened after I walked out of the nurse's office. I kinda thought I daydreamed for a bit, stated Naruto, as he raised a hand to scratch his cheek, as he tried to remember if the Kendo club did hit him, but nothing came up. For some reason, that seemed to make Kyom hug even tighter, making the blonde's back start to creak slightly in agony. A Kyom-chan kinda need my spine to not be broken, can't breathe now, seeing a light, spoke Naruto in a raspy voice before he predominantly passed out for a few seconds, something Kyom noticed when his head fell down onto her own brown hair. Giving a small blush in embarrassment, the brunette loosened her grip slightly, something which seemed to revive the blonde, as he snapped his head up near instantly before looking around. "I'm alive?" muttered Naruto, as he looked down slightly to Kyom, who seemed to blush in embarrassment. A quick apology escaped the brunette's lips before she let go of the hug, and walked towards the Kendo club with her hands on her hips. "You gave him amnesia!" screamed the woman, something that made the entire Kendo club shit themselves, as their senpai gave them a glare. Seeing this, Naruto quickly walked up to Kyom, and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Calm down, Kyom-chan. I'm sure they didn't do anything bad to get your anger, but the way you were talking to them indicates that they attacked me after I left to get your bag," muttered Naruto near the end, as he scratched his chin for a moment, before shaking his head and looking towards the Kendo club with a small smile. "I'm really sorry for whatever I did to cause you to attack me, but I'm sure you had a good reason, or more probably thought I did something I shouldn't have. Now I am going to be a better person here, and not scream at you or anything like that, although I would like an apology instead. Maybe a lesson or two in your Kendo club would be nice, but that's if you allow it," said Naruto with his smile still in place, as he rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. Cue pure silence. No one moved or spoke a single word. Hell, even everyone's breath seemed that much quieter, something that freaked the hell out of him, as he stood in the silent area. "Can you repeat that?" asked Murayama in a shocked tone. Seeing no reason not to, Naruto shrugged his shoulders. "If you could give me an apology, and if possible 1 or 2 lessons in your club, I would be very grateful," said Naruto with a tilted head. The clearing was still silent even after he said that. "You're not going to hurt us or get even?" asked Kate with a small edge of fear in her tone. Kate's sweat drops behind Naruto's head. "Okay, what does being a bit tall and blonde mean that I'm going to hurt you? Look, if you want me to specify it, fine. I, Naruto Uzumaki, swear on my life and heart that I will not hurt you or any of the Kendo clubs for attacking me," spoke to Naruto in a clear tone. His sweat dropped when he saw everyone begin to pinch their elbows, as if they were in a dream. Hell, the only one not doing that was Kyom, but she seemed to be occupied with staring at him with her jaw dropped. "Sorry," spoke Kate and Murayama together in perfect sync, soon followed by their club members who also apologized. Seeming them apologies, the blonde waved them off. "Apology accepted," replied Naruto with a smile, something that caused a good chunk of the girls there to blush. Who knew that all you had to do to make people like you was be nice to everyone? Well, mostly to the girls anyway. Hearing the morning bell ring, Naruto gave a small wave to the Kendo club and Kyom before he began to walk off, only to stop, as both Kate and Murayama grabbed his left sleeve. "We would be welcome if you came to practice with us if you want, Naruto," said both Kate and Murayama in a shy tone, something that just made Naruto mutter quite cute. Both seemed to hear him, as they blushed slightly before he nodded his head. "Thanks for allowing me the privilege. I might appear later in the week, as I wanted to practice learning how to use a bakken, I guess," muttered Naruto, the real reason being he saw a book titled Kenjutsu for Beginners. Probably something he would need to learn. Then there was also, or weapon techniques. Man, the genuine thing must have even more things to learn. And that was just a quick look he had, as he was placing his books in his room. Giving an eep, the 2 Kendo girls went back to their group before leaving for class. However, just as Naruto was going to once again attempt to go to his homeroom class, he was wrapped up in a backwards hug from Kyom once more. "Once again, Naruto-kun, thank you so much for saving my life. I may have been too shocked at nearly drowning the day before, but you are a hero to me, thank you." With that, Kyom stood up a bit taller, and planted a soft kiss to Naruto's cheek, something that set his face on fire, as a blush spread along his face. However, it soon went away when he heard every male that was around him speak loudly how he was wooing Kyom to become his. Giving a sigh, and a small chuckle, Naruto turned himself around, and gave the slightly shorter woman a hug before ruffling her hair slightly. "It wasn't a problem for Kyom-chan. I would do it again if I had to," spoke Naruto with a smile, before his face gained a cheeky expression, as he leaned down slightly. "Even if I have to give up my first kiss again," muttered Naruto quietly, causing Kyom to blush a good shade of red before walking off, sending Naruto a slight look, as she touched her lips in shock. Giving a larger grin, the blonde-haired teen left to go to his homeroom, only to cry slightly when he was given detention for being late a minute. His tears increased when a girl who was watching his encounter with Kyom and the Kendo club was not given a punishment for being late. Pure unadulterated silence rang throughout the decently large classroom. What could be the cause of such silence? Was it killers within the room? Was it raining meteorites outside? No, it was much worse. Naruto Uzumaki was reading. Many within the classroom began to stare outside, waiting for the gates of hell to split open and suck them in. Students began to pray to the Lord, quietly muttering prayers for them to live through the experience that was sure to come. Alas, Naruto was oblivious, as he read his Chakra Control 101 book, his eyes shooting to and from one line after the other, as they dissected the page. Then, the students truly thought the apocalypse was approaching, as Naruto did one thing. That thing was taking notes. "We're all going to die," screamed one of the male students, as he picked up his desk, preparing to throw it through the window in an attempt to leave the room, completely ignoring the wide-open classroom door near the front. "Enough!" screamed the teacher, making all the students snap their heads towards him in fright and panic, as they didn't want the righteous ruler of truth smacking their heads anytime soon. Giving out a sigh, the teacher turned his head to the student who had caused this mess, only to gain a small eye twitch, as the blonde student continued reading without even a glance towards him. Turning his eyes back towards his classroom, the teacher began to wave his hands slightly. Now, it isn't the end of the world if Naruto-san here is reading. However, as I am too shocked at the attention Naruto-san is giving that book of his. This is a classroom, however, and inside of a classroom we learn even if it's the wrong subject, Naruto-san, but I'm still learning. However, that said, Naruto Uzumaki, may you please read what is needed for today's lesson, not your little book there?" asked the teacher, as he once again shifted his gaze towards the blonde, who simply waved at him. "I'll do it eventually," replied the blonde with a grin that was hidden behind the book he was reading. Hearing that, the teacher scratched his brown flat hair with a sigh before continuing on his lesson, noticing that his students began to slowly calm down, as the lesson progressed without a hint of danger appearing, although, a good chunk of the students did send Naruto a short stare before returning back to their own work. Sooner than later, the bell went, signifying that the period had ended. Snapping his book shut, the blonde-haired Uzumaki opened his bag, and placed his chakra book inside the bag before zipping it up, and slinging it onto his back. Standing up, and pushing his chair in, the blonde began to walk out of the room, only to feel his teacher's hand clamp onto his shoulder. Tilting his head slightly, Naruto's cerulean blue eyes stared into his teacher's hazelnut-colored eyes with curiosity. Reason being he never had a teacher stop him from leaving the classroom before. "Naruto-san, while I know that I had given you detention this morning, due to good behavior I have decided to remove it, so your lunch is yours, that is all," finished the teacher, as he removed his hand from the blonde's shoulder before returning to his seat behind his desk. Giving the man a smile and thumbs up, the blonde walked out of the classroom, silently squealing at the prospect of not having detention at lunch. Looking up towards the ceiling for a moment, Naruto released a sigh of relief before bringing his head back down, intent on going down the stairs towards the oval, his second period being sport. Before he knew it, however, he felt someone collide with his back. Blinking, the blonde turned his head around slightly, coming to the sight of one of the school's public enemy number one, and one of the perverted trio, Issei Haidu. Scratching his head slightly, Naruto watched, as Issei rolled around the ground holding his nose, as he ran straight into Naruto after turning a corner at a fast pace. Reason being? "Get the pervert!" screamed a multitude of voices, some of which he already knew of since he had heard them only this morning. Looking towards the downed pervert for a final time, Naruto couldn't help but think of his option: save the pervert, and probably be classified as a pervert who wanted to join the perverted trio, or option B, hand the pervert to the Kendo club members, and gain both a slightly better reputation with the Kendo club, and a possible chance to get more lessons with them if lucky enough. The choice was easy. Gripping the white collar of the pervert's shirt, Naruto held the pervert in position, as he heard the rapid stomps of raging females coming closer. Issei seemed to realize this, as well as he seemed to rapidly heal before staring towards Naruto with pleading eyes. "Please release me, Blondie-san, I beg you," begged Issei with tears trailing down his eyes, as he stared up to Naruto, who gave out a sigh. "Sorry, but I would rather not die. Besides, I'm sure you're used to the hits anyway," replied Naruto, as he came to the sight of the Kendo club girls all holding their shisha with evil grins. That was until they came upon the sight of Naruto, where they got a slight expression of fear that went away when Naruto walked up to them and dropped Issei at their feet. Giving a slight wave, Naruto turned and continued on his way, wincing, as he heard the screams of Issei Haidu rang throughout the hallway. He also noticed that a lot of girls were giggling while the screams echoed. Giving a small shudder from the thought, Naruto walked down the pearly white stairs and out towards the back entrance of the main building, this time however, walking past the massive gym, and into the small change rooms near the corner of the large green oval. Pushing the blue male changing room door, and entering one of the male room stalls, Naruto couldn't help but give a small sigh, as he changed his black blazer, an orange shirt for academy sport shirt, and his long black dress pants a pair of blue sport shorts. Naruto completed his new attire with the changing of his brown dress shoes into a regular pair of blue with white striped sneakers. Opening his stall, and walking out, Naruto took in the silence of the room to stretch and sign. "You know, I really didn't notice the fact that I barely have any other dudes in my class." "Oh well, better than having a shit ton of dudes around," muttered Naruto, as he stared into the one-way mirror in front of a sink. Rubbing a bit of his cheek for a moment, the blonde opened one of the few lockers near the corner of the room and placed his bag inside, making sure to lock the locker before exiting the change room. Looking across from the oval, and spotting his teacher, along with a few other female students around her, Naruto couldn't help but jog over. He also couldn't help but glance at other female students who also jogged over. Reason for his staring being that each girl in his class have big things. Plopping himself down onto the grass, Naruto could help but darted his eyes around, as females began to seat themselves down onto the grass in a similar way that he did. He wouldn't complain, but why did it seem that nearly every chick he saw had a large bounce from their bust from simple things like walking or sitting? Seeing how the teacher remained silent as she was waiting for the rest of the students, Naruto decided to read the training/conditioning book he gained from the scroll, seeing as how it was a novel-sized book that he could fit in his pocket. Like his previous class, everyone seemed to think that the end of the world was approaching because of him reading a book. However, due to the fact that this was a sports class, Naruto would have thought that the image of him reading wouldn't mean anything. Nope, completely wrong. He shared classes with each and every girl in his current sport class. Snapping out of her slight shock, the teacher quickly cleared her throat, drawing in the attention of the class, as she crossed her arms under her bust. Okay class, today I have decided that I want to see how our residential fighters are going with their training for their separate tournaments, whether they be kickboxing, Muay Thai or Judo. However, for those who do not do any of the current activities, Q glanced at pretty much the only 5 or so boys in the class. I would like it if you would do some laps around the oval, said the teacher, as she turned towards the girls, who seemed to all smirk and smile in joy at being able to train. Can I join the girls and practice fighting against them, Sesame-sensei? Asked Naruto with a sheepish expression, as he scratched the back of his head. Now, why would he ask to fight girls? Simple. In this school, if a female specializes in something, they are head and shoulders above the rest. It was like a divine rule that all females in the academy must be perfect in one area. It also helps that some of the females in the group beat full-grown men in other out-of-school tournaments overseas. Raising an eyebrow at the blonde-haired teen, the teacher gave him a slight sigh. Good to see you were paying attention to Naruto-san, but are you sure? I mean, you can if you want, but most of the girls who are here practice some form of fighting, and are quite good at it, as well. I'm sure you have seen some of them in tournaments overseas, replied the teacher, only seeing Naruto nod after her small speech. Giving a sigh, she nodded her head, as the rest of the boys in her class began to go for laps, all of them thinking the blonde-haired Uzumaki had a death wish for wanting to fight against some of the best fighters in their school. Not that Naruto noticed them, of course, as his eyes went back towards his book, waiting patiently for his turn. He didn't have to wait all that long. Hitami Kayuki versus Naruto Uzumaki, called out the teacher, mentally wincing, as one of the stronger girls of the group walked into the small ring they had created with a grin held onto her face. Snapping his book shut, and placing it within his pants pocket, the blonde-haired Uzumaki stood, and stretched his back before walking towards the center of the ring, staring towards the green long-haired girl with a small smile. However, before he knew it, he watched, as an image of him stood against the stranger. However, both he and the stranger had held both their pointed finger and middle finger towards each other before hooking them together. Before he realized it, Naruto watched with widened eyes as the green-haired girl shot forwards with a right hook, something that would have probably sent him crashing into the ground had he not dodged to the right, narrowly missing the right hook. And, as if his body moved on its own, Naruto quickly grabbed the right hook with his own left hand, and pulled the girl's arm wider than her original punch, something that unbalanced her, as both her footing and body slipped from her original stance. Seeing the opportunity now, the blonde quickly threw his right hand out towards the woman's stomach, using it to lift her up slightly before using the girl's already caught hand to sling her over his shoulder, and out of the ring, something that seemed to shock Hitami, as she landed on her backside with a small bounce, as she stared out towards the oval with a blank tone. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki, spoke Sesame in a slightly shocked tone, as she stared towards the blonde, as he simply patted himself down with some expression of shock placed upon his face before he exited the ring. Sesame-sensei, can I please fight Naruto-san? I would like to see his skills against my own, spoke a voice to her left in a calm tone. Turning her head, Sesame couldn't help but freeze slightly, as Rukia Diratsi stood to her left with her light brown hair blowing slightly, making her cold blue eyes stand out, as she stared towards her sensei. Giving a slight cough, Sesame tried to regain her thoughts under control before nodding slightly. Very well, Rukia-san. If Naruto accepts, we can have the match right now. So what do you call Naruto-san? Asked Sesame, as she looked towards Naruto, who had just been slightly staring at Rukia with that of a slightly scared expression, something which was justified, as Rukia had earned a title after winning so many tournaments. That title had been the manslaughterer, as she defeated every man she ever battled. Normally each man had a broken bone after each fight. Naruto could help, but felt a shiver go down his spine, as Rukia's cold blue eyes met his own cerulean blue ones. "I don't think that's a good idea, Sesame-sensei. I mean, I did just." Naruto paused his explanation of why he didn't think this was a good idea. Reason being for his sudden stop was Rukia's expression of anger that projected through her eyes, and with each passing second the anger increased. Never mind, sensei. I'll be happy to fight against Rukia-san. I would love to have a chance at battling such a goddess as herself," spoke Naruto all too quickly, as he hoped his goddess comment would make the hate Rukia now held for him shorten a small bit. It was done the opposite by her now openly glaring at him. Muttering a quick crap, and walking into the small ring, Naruto couldn't help but feel an even larger shiver make its way down his spine, as his teacher signified the match to begin. And before he knew it, he had taken a punch to the jaw, sending him towards the ground, where he quickly spanned slightly, and used his hands to hold himself up off the ground. Hearing the sound of footsteps, the blonde quickly took a small look before sending his legs out towards Rukia, one of his legs hitting her jaw, stunning her for a moment before he sent another foot towards her unprotected stomach, where he then twisted himself into a crouching position before pushing off the ground, aiming a right hook towards the girl's chin, only to widen his eyes in shock, as she tilted her head backwards slightly before grabbing the overextended arm of Naruto's before she then brought the arm into an awkward position behind the blonde's back. "Snap! Shit!" screamed Naruto, as Rukia snapped his arm from her hold. Holding his now broken forearm towards his chest, the blonde quickly bit the inside of his lips to prevent himself from screaming in agony, as he cradled his broken bone. Seeing this, the teacher sprang into action, quickly telling a student to get the nurse. The teacher quickly ran towards the girls' change rooms in an attempt to grab the small medical box that sat within the room. However, while the teacher was going to get the medical box, the students all surrounded the blonde, as he shut his eyes in agony. "Sorry," spoke Rukia with a calm blank tone, but because Naruto had his eyes snapped shut, he hadn't noticed the look of pleasure sitting upon Rukia's face, as she stared down towards the blonde. Hearing that, Naruto opened his eyes slightly, only to narrow them, as he saw the sight of Rukia's face and expression. Growling to himself, the blonde slowly stood up, and began to walk towards the male change room, all the while ignoring the laughter of some other males who had just seen him get taken down by a girl in only a minute. However, to his slight surprise, a few of the girls were talking about how they felt sorry for him. Shaking his head slightly, as he held his arm, his adrenaline numbing his arm's pain, the blonde quickly pushed himself past the boys' change room door before he made a beeline straight towards his locker, using his left arm to open the locker, all the while holding back some tears, as he held his broken, from what he felt, arm. Opening his locker, the blonde quickly grabbed the bag, and walked out, going the opposite direction from the school, and leaving through the back. By the time Sesame-sensei arrived, Naruto had left without anyone realizing that he left the change room's apartment. "Gah, my fucking arm!" shouted Naruto, as he accidentally nudged the edge of his front door frame before entering his apartment. Throwing his bag into his living room, the blonde quickly slammed his front door shut, making sure to lock it before moving towards his bathroom, intent on making a bracer for his forearm with the medical supplies behind his mirror. Opening his door to get in, Naruto quickly moved towards the mirror, and opened it up with his left hand, all the while making sure that his right hand was nowhere near anything other than air. Grabbing the small box that had medical written on the top in a clear white color, the blonde shut his mirror, and walked out of the room, not bothering to close his bathroom door, as he sat on his small couch, using his coffee table to set up his bracer for his arm, as he searched through his small medical box, placing 2 sturdy pieces of wood onto the table along with a large amount of wrapping bandages. The blonde slowly moved his right arm onto one of the wooden bracers before wincing, as he used his left to place the other on top. Now having the pieces of wood on his forearm, Naruto began to slowly wrap the bandages around his wrists before going up, making sure that his bandages weren't being placed on wrong, as he narrowed his eyes in concentration. Tugging the final bit of bandage around his arm, Naruto quickly got some tape before wrapping it from his wrist to his elbow, just to make sure that his bracer wouldn't become loose through movement. Giving out a huff, Naruto closed his eyes as he lifted his right arm off the table. Luckily enough for him, he didn't feel either pain nor strain as he moved his arm slightly. Giving a small sigh of relief, Naruto began to push himself off his couch with his left hand, only to stumble and fall onto his back with his eyes slowly shutting before falling asleep with his broken right arm laying gently on the brown coffee table next to him. But before Naruto fell asleep, his last cohesive thought was fucking hell, before he passed out. Knock knock knock. 2 eyes suddenly snapped open, showing blue cerulean eyes staring blankly towards his slightly gray-colored ceiling. Pushing himself up, the blonde quickly got off his couch, muttering a quick "I'm coming" out loud, as he attempted to open his apartment door, only to glare towards the lock near the right corner of the door. Lifting his right hand, and opening it, the blonde quickly opened the door with his left. Naruto blinked, as he came upon the sight of his school nurse Chami standing at the door with a look of worry written upon her face, as she stared at him. "Naruto-kun, how are you? Is your arm okay?" "Well, not okay, but better than yesterday." "Did you see a doctor to diagnose your injury? Did they tell you if it's a simple fracture or break?" asked Chami in a quick tone, as she walked into the blonde's apartment, and dragged him over to his small couch before propping both Naruto and herself down onto the table, where she then began to study his right arm. Naruto just blinked for a moment before staring down towards his arm with that of an expression of shock before he turned his head to look towards his sensei/school nurse. "Ano, going from your questions in order. I am fine. My arm feels weird, in a good way. And it is definitely better than yesterday if I remember. No, I didn't see a doctor. I passed out only a few moments after from making this bracer for my arm. And because a doctor didn't check my arm, I cannot answer your final 2 questions. But just a quick question, why are you here, Tarami-sensei? Shouldn't you be at school in case someone hurts themselves?" asked Naruto with a slight tilt of his head, only to watch as Chami shook her head slightly, pushing up her glasses, as they began to slip down slightly down her soft face. "Normally yes I would, however, seeing as how you did save a student's life only a day ago, along with getting attacked by the Kendo club, which they thank you once more for accepting their apology, I have decided to do some good in return for what you have been through the last 2 days. Think of it as a thank you for 1, saving a fellow student who could have drowned and died, and 2, for not retaliating against the Kendo club. Now, while I am a nurse, I am also a licensed doctor with enough diplomas to be able to run a hospital. Because of that, I will be giving you a note that will keep you out of school for 3 weeks. The reason being that a damaged bone could take either 2 to 8 weeks to completely heal itself back to regular function. However, I will require that you come to the school tomorrow to have an X-ray. The reason being I don't want to cause more harm than good by having you go through an X-ray with your injured arm. So for now I will leave it," spoke Chami, as her brown eyes stared into Naruto's blue with a calm professional tone. Having a few seconds to think about it, Naruto couldn't help but smile and nod. "Okay, thank you, Tarami-sensei. And you didn't really need to go to this length for me, Databayo," spoke Naruto loudly, only to blink as a new flash of images flew through his head. This time it was both a younger-looking version of him and his current age version of him saying the word Databayo with people around him. And just as the images appeared, they disappeared a few moments after. Chami seemed to take offense to that, as she moved her face closer towards Naruto's with a narrowed stare, her glasses making the stare seem even more frightening. "What is that I hear? Did I just hear a student under my care say that I didn't need to put effort in their recovery? Do you really believe in Uzumaki-kun? Shall we prove that I am not needed here?" asked Chami with a quite cold tone, something that scared the shit out of the blonde-haired Uzumaki, as he scratched the back of his head with his left arm. "No, Tarami-sensei. I am very thankful that such a beautiful and busy woman like yourself made time to help me," spoke Naruto out loud with a small trail of sweat escaping his forehead, as he looked into his teacher's brown-eyed gaze with a small amount of fear that slowly grew as seconds went by. However, it all disappeared when Naruto saw the teacher/nurse nod her head with a small smile. "That's what I thought I heard. Thank you, Naruto-kun, for the beautiful comment," now began Chami, as she pulled out a small piece of paper from her nurse's outfit and quickly wrote down a time for Naruto's X-ray. Giving the blonde the small sheet of paper, the teacher smiled at him before walking out. "Remember to be there on time, Naruto-kun. Like you said, I am a beautiful and busy woman," finished the teacher with a small smile, as she walked out from the younger blonde's apartment. However, the moment the teacher left the apartment, the blonde quickly began to rip open his bandages before chucking his bracer right off his injured right arm. "No fucking way," muttered Naruto, as he simply stared at his right arm, as he moved it around without a single wince of pain. Blinking to himself, Naruto moved his left hand to pinch his right arm. He was surprised, however, to notice that he did feel the pinch, but nothing other than that. Suddenly Naruto simply slouched into his couch, his mind only wandering to what he read on the scroll. "While you do not know who you truly are, you will find out along your journey." What does that mean? Was he different in some way from regular people? Shaking his head, Naruto simply pushed himself off his couch, his mind slightly wincing, as he felt a strain in his right forearm. "Okay, so I guess even if my arm fixed itself overnight it isn't perfect, but I guess I would rather take this than a properly broken arm," muttered Naruto mentally, as he picked up his bag on his way towards his bedroom, intent on finding something out from his newly acquired books. Opening his bedroom door, and walking towards his desk, Naruto quickly opened his bag, and placed his 5 books onto the desk, the books being Chakra Control 101, Fuinjutsu Level 1, Body Conditioning/Training, and the Basics of Nature Transformation. Nodding to himself, Naruto then went to grab the books under his desk, making sure to place them all neatly along his desk. Placing the final book down, the blonde sat himself down on his desk chair, and searched through each and every book he now had, his mind mentally recording each and every title. His eyes flew by before finally coming to a stop on the original, used to be scroll, book. "You know, I didn't really check this book out that much, I'd better see what else is inside," muttered Naruto, as he opened the book, completely ignoring the first page before turning it over and staring at the title on the blank page. "Genin," muttered Naruto, as he dragged a finger across the page. Thinking back to what had happened when he sent chakra through the first page, the blonde shrugged before sending a small amount of chakra into the page. However, unlike the first page, instead of a shit ton of books popping up, new writing began to appear on the page. Chakra control, low academy student. Chakra amount, mid academy student. Body overall, low academy student. Taijutsu, non-existent. Ninjutsu, non-existent. Genjutsu, non-existent. Kenjutsu, non-existent. Bukijutsu, non-existent. Fuinjutsu, non-existent. Nature transformation, non-existent. Rating, low academy student. Unable to proceed to Genin rank. Blinking, Naruto couldn't help but stare. It looked like the book basically told him what his current abilities are, and what he needed to upgrade to pass. Well, at least I can keep up to date on what I need now, so I pretty much have to get all of this into a Genin standard before I can rank up and get the next probable books and knowledge to continue learning. Damn, oh well. So far the only things I have that have a small bit of success are the top 3. Although, if my current body is so weak, then I guess we'll need to train extremely hard to increase my body's strength, speed, stamina, and so forth. But I should do chakra control exercises now. I mean, I learn how to, and plus, if I manage to do the leaf balancing while reading another book, it would really help improve both my control along with teaching me how to multitask. Screw it, I'll do it now, muttered Naruto, as he stood up and grabbed his chakra control 101 book once more before going outside to collect some leaves to practice with. And within the span of 10 minutes, Naruto began to train his chakra control. It seems that it's a clean break, Naruto-kun. The bone should mend itself within 4 weeks. Just remember to not strain it, okay? Said Tami, as she handed the blonde-haired teen his x-rays, showing a clearly broken forearm. Giving a small nod and wave, the blonde-haired teen walked out of the office, his destination being his home, as his x-ray was completed. Okay, note to self, get a doctor to check any noticeable injuries before they have a chance to heal, muttered Naruto, as he stared towards his right hand, which was now encased in a cast and held in place by a sling Turami-sensei had wrapped around his neck. Looking towards the sky, the blonde couldn't help but release a sigh as he fed his newly broken forearm and started to heal at a ridiculous rate, something that the blonde was thankful for, as the broken forearm had irritated him to no end. You see, just as Naruto woke up this morning, after cheering to himself for over an hour about learning the leaf chakra control exercise, and being able to hold the leaf up for over 20 minutes, which increased with each refill of his chakra. Not that he realized he was gaining chakra, as it was only a small amount each time. However, that was until he noticed with each refill of his chakra, his leaf concentration exercise increased its time by a few minutes, to the point that it was obvious that his reserves increased with the chakra control training. However, once he got over his slight bit of excitement, the blonde realized a very important fact. As he was getting ready, his arm was healed. If he was to go meet Turami-sensei, and she used her x-ray, he was sure she would be asking questions he wasn't willing to share. Seeing as how he was trapped inside of a cube metaphorically, the blonde did the only thing that popped up in his mind, which happened to be him using his left hand covered in chakra to snap his forearm around the area of where his original break was. Safe to say, he was not going to be patting himself on the back for his idea. However, it seemed to work, as Turami-sensei explained that while it was better than she expected, it would still take a few weeks to heal. After that, he got a doctor's note explaining that he wasn't fit to attend school for the next 3 weeks, something he was mentally jumping all over the place with a massive grin. Reaching his apartment with a few minutes off leaving the school, something for which he was grateful for, Naruto quickly opened his door with his left hand before entering and locking the previous door in place. Looking around the room for a moment, the blonde gave out a sigh of relief as he surged his chakra into his arm, enjoying the peaceful feeling of his chakra moving through his body, as he walked towards his kitchen cupboards, intent on getting a bowl of instant ramen to fill him up a bit. Placing the bowl down on the countertop, and pulling the cover of the bowl to halfway, Naruto walked towards his small kettle before picking it up, and moving it towards his sink, filling the small kettle enough so that he could fill his ramen bowl. Turning on the stove, and placing the kettle on the fire, the blonde stood by, and watched, as the water within the kettle started to bubble, soon followed by steam. Seeing the steam come out of the nozzle, Naruto moved the kettle, and placed it beside his instant ramen, making sure to add the flavoring first. The blonde tipped the kettle over slightly, making sure that the boiling water only landed in the ramen bowl, and not on the kitchen counter or himself. Seeing it filled, the blonde covered the top of the ramen to prevent any of the heat from escaping from the delicious instant ramen cup. Sure, it wasn't nearly as good as actual ramen, but beggars can't be choosers. Moving his ramen with his left hand to his tabletop, the blonde walked into his room before pulling out his basics of nature transformation before he began to read from where he left off at school when he originally got his forearm broken by Rukia. He didn't know why, but something felt off about her. And he wasn't talking about the whole looking happy she got to snap a bone. Shaking his head, and pulling out a pair of chopsticks from nowhere, the blonde-haired teen pulled the lid off his bowl of ramen before inhaling it with gusto, making sure that nothing was remaining inside the once full bowl. During his time of eating, Naruto managed to break the cast that surrounded his arm before getting it out of his sling that Tarami-sensei had made for him before he picked up his nature transformation book and began to read. While the book was quite decently big, he managed to read most of it while at school, so he only had a few pages left to read before he hit the end. But he had to admit, if he could truly learn and master everything he was reading, he would use his power to the fullest. He would use things he would learn to help people. Like for instance, if he had medical ninjutsu, he could heal people at will if he got to a master level. He could prevent damages from natural disasters with enough knowledge in the art. Placing his chopsticks down, and holding the book with both hands, Naruto couldn't help but tilt his head slightly as he reached the end of the book, the last page saying that he had to pull the page out of the book and send chakra through it. Why would the book ask him that? He didn't know, but seeing as how the books haven't killed him somehow so far, he decided to give it a go. Pulling the page out from the book carefully, the blonde-haired teen placed the piece of paper down onto the table, making sure to clear everything around it just in case. Before he sent chakra into the sheet, what he saw shocked the hell out of him. First, the sheet split into 4 separate smaller pieces. Before one of the 4 pieces began to set aflame, one other piece became damp, as if wet. Then one of the last 2 normal pieces crinkled up on itself, soon followed by the last piece of paper having bits of it turning into dirt and rock. Naruto couldn't do anything other than stare, even when he noticed that the flame created from one of the 4 pieces continued to burn, using the wooden coffee table to help it grow in the process. However, Naruto hadn't had to worry, as the damp piece of paper had a bit of water flow out from it, and into the flame, extinguishing it with a single touch. Raising his left hand to his head, Naruto couldn't believe what he just saw. Not only did the piece of paper split itself, but the 4 pieces that had been split each had a separate thing happen to them. Wind, water, fire, earth, lightning. If what the book told me is correct, I got all the basic affinities for each element. But it's been stated while there have been a few who trained to gain a decent grasp of each affinity, there wasn't anyone who actually was born with it. Wait, does that mean damn it? Shouted Naruto, as he dropped his head, and in desperation before he suddenly shot up off his couch, and began to walk towards his room, a determined glint held within his eyes. No, I gotta be sure, muttered Naruto, as he pushed his bedroom door open before walking towards the original book he had. Flicking the pages until he hit the genin page, the blonde sent a wave of chakra through the book, and had a tear of mock sadness spill from his right eye, as he looked towards the page. Chakra control, high academy student. Chakra amount, mid academy student. Body overall, low academy student. Taijutsu, non-existent. Ninjutsu, non-existent. Genjutsu, non-existent. Kenjutsu, non-existent. Bukijutsu, non-existent. Fuinjutsu, non-existent. Nature transformation, non-existent. Wind nature transformation, non-existent. Water nature transformation, non-existent. Earth nature transformation, non-existent. Fire nature transformation, non-existent. Lightning nature transformation, non-existent. Rating, low academy student, unable to proceed to genin rank. Naruto felt like he could cry at that moment. Sure, he probably has to find out his natural transformation to proceed into a genin rank, but now he had 5 elements to increase to a genin rank, on top of the already large list. Although, he did have to thank heaven for letting the basic nature transformation book have the first step for each basic element along with some notes on how to speed up the learning process. Snapping his original book closed, Naruto couldn't help but release a sigh before narrowing his eyes towards the large stacks of books he had. I got 3 weeks before I have to return to school, and I had already told Yurichi that I couldn't come to work because of the injury. Yurichi didn't seem all that thoughtful or pleased, as the man hung up straight after told him, either way, I have paid my bills for the next month, so I got a pure 3 weeks to myself. But I can actually train in the city without being nearly restricted to the bare basics of what I have to learn. Either way, half the basic stuff are incredibly powerful, was an example, and if I screw up when I begin to learn that, I could potentially kill someone with it. And that was bad news, not only because he killed someone, but his abilities would be found out. And when something interesting pops up in a person, the world wants to gain the interesting trait for themselves, so I better not let anyone know of my abilities, muttered Naruto to himself, as he stared at the stacks of books for a few more minutes, his face showing his turmoil, as he attempted to figure out what to do. However, a few minutes of staring, Naruto knew what he was going to do, so with a grin appearing on his face, the blonde stuck a finger into the air, and proclaimed loudly, well, loud enough so that it would make it seem amazing while not irritating the neighbors. I, Naruto Uzumaki, will go camping, shouted Naruto with a grin on his face, as he began to move around his room at a calm, even walking pace, making sure to grab all the necessary items for his camping trip. Within 20 minutes the blonde had managed to pack himself, and was ready to set off. 2 weeks, and 6 days later, you guys got your time skip, winky face. Shit, 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 shouted a blonde teen, as he quickly jumped into the lake he found in the forest where he decided to camp. The reason for his action of jumping into the lake? He just set his shirt on fire, smashing his head through the water's surface, and taking in a gulp of air. The blonde-haired teen known as Naruto Uzumaki gave out a throaty chuckle, as he pulled himself out of his lake. It had been 2 weeks, and 6 days since he went camping, and in those simple 2 weeks, and 6 days, Naruto himself could only grin at what he achieved. When he had left for his camping trip, the blonde-haired teen made sure to grab everything he needed to advance in his rank in his original book. Safe to say, he achieved it. Although barely, as the chakra nature training was the most time-consuming. It would have taken him longer to learn had it not been for the bits and pieces of notes explaining how his chakra was supposed to work. For example would be his wind chakra nature training. He would have spent weeks trying to simply rip the paper, however, with a few notes telling him that wind chakra was more of like 2 blades slashing at each other, sharpening both of them at the same time. He had managed to complete the exercise within 2 days. The other elements were easier, as he searched specifically for the notes on how to complete the nature transformation training. However, his natural transformation wasn't his best achievement. His biggest achievement within the 2 weeks was his practice. Sure, his chakra control and amount increased to the rank of High Genin, which both shocked and excited him, as he didn't think it was possible to have an increase of both control and amount at an extremely fast pace. Although his chakra control and amount were High Genin, the rest like ninjutsu and taijutsu were at a genin rank along with pretty much everything else that was written down as a requirement. But he was his secret lover. Originally, the blonde-haired teen wanted to focus on everything and leave till last, reason being that it wasn't as practical as the rest, even if it had near limitless potential hidden within its art. And that's what Naruto did for the first 2 days. He completely ignored the sacred art until he was bored at night with nothing to do. Sure, he could have trained more, but his chakra was exhausted from constant wind nature training along with his physical training. So, seeing as how he had a good chunk of light still out, he decided to read the art that is called. He hadn't realized it, but after days on end reading the book at the dead of night, he had learned that if he pushed enough chakra into his eyes, his eyesight, which was already perfect, could increase and decrease in both brightness and distance. Sure, not exactly a long distance, but a small bit was better than none at all. Throwing his newly tattered shirt into the lake, seeing as there was still a small flame flickering among the ends of the shirt, Naruto couldn't help but pick up a decently large rock near his foot and move to sit down underneath the shade of a large oak tree. Holding the rock in his hand, the blonde closed his eyes, as he imagined his wind nature chakra sliced straight through the dense material, feeling his chakra grinding against itself, and making it both sharper and more accurate. The blonde couldn't help but give out a joyful sigh, as he felt the rock in his hand split into 2 smaller pieces. Currently, his wind element was the strongest, his weakest being nothing. Wind just happened to be his strongest, as he spent a bit more time with it, as it was easy to strengthen by cutting different solid objects like leaves, rocks, and even trees. Although he wasn't good enough to cut full-grown trees, small dead trees he could with some minor difficulty. His other elements, being water, earth, lightning, and fire, were all trained in different ways, as he hadn't known what the next stage was. So, because of this, Naruto had decided to take it upon himself to strengthen his natural affinities through his own ideas. An example of fire being him lighting a small patch of grass near the lake on fire, and then using his water manipulation to draw the water out from the lake to drench the fire out. He did similar things with lightning and earth, his earth manipulation being in the form of carrying scroll to and from his camping grounds, and his lightning chakra to charge his phone. This eventually changed to where he was using his lightning chakra to kill/paralyze small animals for food. As he had read a survival book during his time, he had also taken inspiration from the anime Darker Than Black on how to use his lightning nature. He had also forgot to stack up on food, which was the reason for his hunting, and water. Water was luckily provided by the lake, which was home to fresh water, although he did use his water manipulation to clean it before he drank any. Just another thing he learned he could do with his nature manipulation. Looking around the clearing for his bag, Naruto couldn't help but smile as he glanced over his wooden bakken and staff that sat lazily near his stone dummy, which he once again created with his earth chakra. Although it still hurt to punch the thing, he could feel his strength increase as he smashed his way through rock dummy throughout the weeks. He did however learn that when he had gained his bakken and staff at the ends of both Kenjutsu beginner and weapon master, he realized that when he moved chakra into either weapon, the weapon gained weight on it and stayed on it. So when he put in a small amount of chakra into the weapon, it grew a little bit heavier. Luckily he learned that before thinking of surrounding his weapons in nature chakra, well, apart from fire, as that was just asking for trouble, but wind, lightning, and even earth and water, and seeing how it takes more chakra to turn into an element, yeah, he wouldn't have been able to move either for a long time. Shaking his head from the thought of him trying to haul a sword with all his might only to fail, Naruto once again looked for his equipment before noticing it on the opposite side of his clearing. So, using his earth chakra, the blonde gave a grin as he watched a small bit of earth lifted his camping bag up and move its way over to him at a decent rate. Now why would he require his backpack? For his original book, of course. Watching as his backpack arrived next to him, Naruto released his earth chakra and watched as the small hill crumbled for a moment before shoving a hand inside the bag and pulling out a book. Lucky for him, he had gotten the right book the first time around. Giving a grin, the blonde couldn't help but bounce slightly as he flicked through the pages until he landed on the genin page once more. Holding the book with both hands, Naruto sent chakra through his hands before watching as his current stats appeared, and, as he read, he couldn't help but increase his smile as his eyes traveled down the list, although he won't deny that his eyes widened in pure shock at some of the things that appeared. Chakra control, low jonin. Chakra amount, high. Body overall, mid jonin. Strength, high jonin. Speed, mid jonin. Stamina, low jonin. Endurance, mid jonin. Experience, non-existent. Taijutsu, mid jonin. Ninjutsu, mid jonin. Genjutsu, low jonin. Kenjutsu, high jonin. Bukijutsu, high jonin. Fuinjutsu, jonin. Level 1 pass. Level 2 pass. Nature transformation, high. Wind nature transformation, low. Water nature transformation, high. Earth nature transformation, mid. Fire nature transformation, mid. Lightning nature transformation, high. Rating, well above requirements. Genin level ninja. Before Naruto could even think, the sound of another poof was heard, and when the smoke disappeared, Naruto could only widen his eyes as a large amount of items appeared. Although, that wasn't what made Naruto widen his eyes. Dropping to his knees and crawling forwards, Naruto couldn't help but stare at the neatly laid objects in front of him. In front of him were two headbands with the leaf symbol like in the images he saw, although one of them had a scratch slightly angled above the leaf. Next was a small book with the title Tales of the Gutsy Ninja with a small green gem necklace, followed by a half-face mask and a simple photo book. However, for the small book, the face mask, and the photo book, there was a scroll placed above them. However, Naruto couldn't stop his hand as it reached for the headbands, and just as he touched them, he felt it. He felt the achievements, the dread, the anger, the sorrow, the joy, the sadness. He felt it all rush through him as he brought the two headbands to his chest. As he shut his eyes, attempting to stop the buildup of tears he felt, Iruka-sensei Sasuke team muttered Naruto quietly before placing the headbands down beside him before reaching out and gripping the face mask tightly once again, shutting his eyes to hold back the tears that were collecting as his face clenched up with sadness. Kakashi-sensei muttered Naruto once more, his tears drying up slightly behind his eyelids, as he once again placed the mask neatly beside the headbands before picking up the photo book and opening it up, only to shut it completely, as he began to cry slightly. Gigi, cried out Naruto silently, as the image of a 4-year-old version of him sitting next to an old man eating ice cream happily. Holding the photo book tightly for a few seconds, Naruto slowly placed it beside him with the others before grabbing hold of the green jewel necklace before unhooking the back and putting it on, crying and releasing a sob as he muttered a name close to his heart. Tsunade-bachan, sobbed out Naruto, as he sat on his calves with his hands dropped above his lap, as he simply cried for a few more seconds. Soon he opened his eyes one more time, only looking at the book for a second before he picked it up, opened it, and when he broke down, he cried. Ero-sennin cried at Naruto, as his tears spilled onto the book's cover, as he thought of his teacher/godfather. Before he knew it, however, Naruto was cut off from his sadness, as another poof was heard. Opening his red puffy eyes open slowly, the blonde couldn't do anything but stare at the message that appeared on the front of the book he held. although, when he read the message, Naruto couldn't help but give a small smile with tears of joy spilling down his cheeks, as he read the message. Ero-sen Bachan Kakashi-sensei Team Irika-sensei, if each rank gives me more mementos of my friends, then I will become a master. I will not forget them, shouted Naruto towards the sky, his voice powerful enough to send the local birds flying away in a hurry, as a fire burned within Naruto's eyes for the first time in his life. For once, Naruto Uzumaki knew what he wanted to achieve in his current life. He wanted to regain the memories of his life, because those memories were created through both pain and suffering. He sure as hell wasn't going to forget about his friends completely, not while he could stop it. Turning his body slightly, Naruto let a smile grace his features, as he once again started to pick up the items, the mask being first, as he slipped it on around his neck so that he could lift the face mask up at any time. Grabbing the black-clothed headband, the blonde ripped a bit of the fabric, shortening it enough so that when he wrapped it around his left arm, it only looked like an armband. Grabbing both a photo book and a novel, Naruto moved the novel into his pocket, and the photo book towards his bag, which was now flooded with new material for him to learn. Giving a sigh, the blonde looked towards the sky, and gave a light smile, as the sun shone high above the clouds. I am Naruto Uzumaki Genin of previous of Kurama. I don't remember anything after returning from my training trip other than bits and pieces. And you know what, muttered Naruto, as he closed his eyes for a moment, letting the wind blow through his hair gently, as he thought of his next few words. Slowly opening his eyes, Naruto couldn't help but smile slightly once more. I'm not going to stop until I remember it all. Even if it's the past, I won't forget it, but I won't live in it, finished Naruto, as he shut his eyes once more, and laid against the tree in the park, as he dozed off to sleep. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.